These are some of the top headlines that shaped the continent in 2024. And without further ado, on the big red button, we start. In Senegal, we saw a man who had been imprisoned for 11 months pending trial for challenging the government. However, he was released just 10 days before the country's elections to take part in the race, backed by the popular opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, who himself had been prevented from participating in the elections by the previous government. And this man went on to win the presidential elections on his birthday. So needless to say, it's a gift he will never forget. And that was the political faith of President Bassirou Diomaye Faye. Next, Botswana announced the discovery of the largest diamond ever found within the country's mines, a 2,492 carat stone, a stone that is one of the largest of the century, but the biggest still remains the Cullinan diamond, also known as the Great Star of Africa, a 3,106 carat stone that was stolen by the British colonial empire, and it is now part of the British royal family's priceless crown jewels. Next, in one of the most dramatic fashion, the elephant, the majestic elephant of Côte d'Ivoire, sat on the super eagles of Nigeria's dreams of winning the prestigious African Cup of Nations, despite barely surviving the group stages and being the subject of jokes and memes. They defied the odds in a true African style. The elephant reminded everyone why on the continent we say, as long as there is life, there is still hope. In Sudan, over 25 million people, representing half of the population, need humanitarian assistance. It's been a sad state of affairs ever since the conflict between the RSF and the SAF broke out in April of the previous year. And there are reports of thousands of children succumbing to measles and cholera. Listen, as Africa and especially the Sudanese people wait for the military leaders to swallow their pride and come to the round table of peace, 8.1 million people continue to suffer from hunger, forced displacement, and there are reports of ethnic cleansing in areas like Darfur. Now, the 91-year-old Cameroonian president Paul Biya was missing in action for 7 weeks, and speculations that he was unwell dominated conversations in Cameroon and across the African continent. However, a government directive politely told people to stop fantasizing and imagining things. They went further to prevent Cameroonian citizens from discussing the president's health in public or in private, terming it as a national security issue. Now, 7 weeks later, President Paul Biya flew back into the country looking like he had tasted waters from the fountain of youth. Kenya brought down Africa and the world to a standstill with the Gen Z-led anti-government protest. Look, it all started with a controversial bill that aimed at increasing taxes in an already struggling economy, with Kenya's former darling, now turned foe, President Samoei Ruto, whom the Kenyans nicknamed Zakayo. Now, after street protest, the burning down of the parliament, and the countless reject the finance bill hashtag online, the president finally conceded. And since then, the hustler president has had a toxic relationship with Kenyans who constantly give him nicknames as they continue to oppose and protest his policies. And before I go any further, the hashtag has now evolved to Ruto must go. The Sierra Leonean government passed a law explicitly banning child marriage in any form, but the law didn't just stop there. They put in place systems that complement it and guarantee that the perpetrators will be held accountable. Look, a nice prison sentence of up to 15 years for anyone who facilitates, officiate, or participate in any way, shape, or form in this illegal activity. And I think they should have even added public flogging. Joking. Namibia's president transitioned to the ancestral realm while still in office at the ripe age of 82 after losing a battle against cancer. And this happened as he was planning to travel to the United States for medical treatment. I mean, we hope that this unfortunate event will inspire some African leaders to improve our healthcare system and make it affordable to all of us, because not all Africans have money for private medical care or help abroad. An African father's love was on full display in the Pearl of Africa, where President Yoweri Museveni promoted his son, General Muhoozi, to military chief. But initially, the general was promoted to head the land forces in 2022. However, due to his controversial behavior on his X account, where he threatened to invade Kenya, supported the Tigray forces in Ethiopia, and expressed his love for Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, his father removed him from the position. Ironically, in 2024, he was promoted to head the entire Ugandan military. Verily, verily, I say unto you, a father's love knows no bound. And I wonder what your father did for you last year. The Malian capital city Bamako inaugurated a 5-story building that will host the African Cultural Hub for occult knowledge with the purpose of preserving, sharing, and training the next generation of occult scientists while demystifying the practice. Listen, many occult scientists from across the continent and dignitaries attended the event, and this project was fully funded by one person, who is the president of the Network of Guardians of Occult Knowledge, the one and only Professor Mamadou Babou Nyang. While living lavishly in Europe, the daughter of the longest-serving African president came out of the colorful, pristine presidential closet to announce to the nation that she was gay. I mean, considering that Cameroon is among the list of countries with harsh laws against homosexuality, I wonder, will she be subjected to the same laws as the minority of Cameroonian face, or she is above the law? That's the question. The outgoing Ghanaian president, Nana Addo-Akufo, came under fire on social media for proudly unveiling a statue of himself in front of an hospital during his thank you tour in the western region of the country, while commemorating his achievement while still in office. You see, despite boasting that he fulfilled 80% of his promises to his countrymen, some people are already calling for the statue to be brought down the second is no longer in office. But who can blame a French speaker like himself for applying the philosophy of "on est mieux servi que par soi-même", which can hold the equivalent of if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. He simply refused to leave it to history. In an historical move, the people of Botswana dethroned the old ruling party that had ruled the country for over 58 years to inject fresh blood into the African political landscape to match its youthful population. Now, the new president is Duma Boko, a man whose party claimed the majority of seats in the election. Now, fair play to the dinosaurs for accepting leaving the country in peace, not in pieces, unlike some of their colleagues throughout the continent. On the second day of the anti-government protest in Liberia, the parliament caught fire for the second time. And as of the day of posting this video, there is still no connection between the protest and the fire. You see, the protest was sparked by the government's decision to oust the parliament speaker, who is also a member of the opposition party, accusing him of corruption. Naturally, he pleaded not guilty. In an historic move, the Chadian government, led by Idriss Déby's son, stunned Paris by terminating its defense military cooperation with France. And this means that French troops stationed in the country with warplanes and other heavy artillery must pack up and leave. Look, it seems to be an exercise that French troops are now getting used to, having been evicted from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger in recent years. Who's next? After winning the election, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu was accused of submitting a fake diploma from an American university to the Nigerian Electoral Commission. Now, fortunately, one of his opponents in the race chose to sue the president, hoping he would be disqualified once exposed. However, he conceded a second defeat back-to-back because in court, the university backed the Nigerian president with facts. Burundi closed its borders with Rwanda because Bujumbura accused Kigali of sheltering and training a rebel group known as Red Tabara. It's a group that claimed the responsibility for an attack against Burundian troops near the border with DRC. However, the Rwandan government denied these accusations, stating that they were unnecessary and contrary to the principle of the East African integration. In my village, they say, when two elephants are fighting, it is the grass represented by the people that suffers. Fortunately, though, the border was reopened in August. Look, Somaliland did something interesting. You see, in exchange for recognition of its statehood, it signed a significant deal with Ethiopia, granting Ethiopia access to the Red Sea. Now, this move automatically triggered hostilities between Somalia and Ethiopia because Somalia considers Somaliland as part of its territory. In Mozambique, month-long unrest and protest began as soon as the controversial election results were announced. Now, protesters, opposition, and election observers accused the ruling party of rigging the votes, which is something the ruling party have categorically denied. And as of the time of posting this video, the unrest have not yet stopped. The United Nations peacekeeping mission MONUSCO in DRC announced its full withdrawal from the country by the end of 2024, after 25 years in Congo. This decision was cheered by the people and requested by the Congolese government, which criticized the mission for proving its limits in the context of permanent war. However, in the recent update, it seems like Kinshasa changed its mind and requested the mission to extend for another year. In late January, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger shook West Africa by announcing their immediate withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States, that is better known as ECOWAS. And one of the main reasons for this decision was ECOWAS illegal sanctions imposed on these three countries, its failure to help them fight terrorism, but the organization backed by foreign forces were willing to send troops to Niger, military troops to Niger, to reinstate the deposed president Bazoum. Now, interestingly, the three countries have decided to form their own alliances, which is known the Alliance of Sahel States, and it looks like more members such as Chad might join. In Gabon, 53% of the people voted with almost 92% in favor of the new constitution proposed by the interim president General Oligui Nguema, who overthrew his cousin Ali Bongo Ondimba in August of the previous year. Now, this constitution has increased the length of the term from 5 to 7, but it limits the presidency terms to 2. Additionally, the position of prime minister no longer exists, and no family member can succeed a president. Also, the presidential candidate must be exclusively Gabonese, and at least one of the parents must be born in Gabon. But above all, the candidate's spouse must be Gabonese. I mean, this is an important detail that automatically disqualified the deposed president, because how can you be the leader of a country and your other half has nothing in common with the people you are planning or you are leading? Because what message are you sending? Botswana threatened to send 10,000 elephants to England and 20,000 to Germany because both countries proposed stricter trophy hunting import rules, even though Botswana argued against that decision because it would hurt the rural community's livelihood. Look, the elephant population in the country has roughly tripled since 1984, more than any other African state, and they lack the space. Also, that huge uncontrolled population is a constant danger to property, crops, and humans. Therefore, in an attempt to reduce the number, the elephants were sent to Angola and Mozambique in the past. Additionally, they realized that rich Westerners love to shoot at animals, so they charged them thousands of dollars for a permit to hunt the elephants. Kenya experienced the rise of an epidemic called abduction, primarily caused by direct contact with allegedly plainclothes police officers traveling in unmarked vehicles. And according to human rights witnesses and victims, the side effects include torture or the loss of life. You see, this epidemic spike initially only affected vocal voices on social media. However, this virus did spread to key activists who were previously protected by the Diplomatic Online Anonymity Act. However, in late December, we learned that it even developed an appetite for cartoonists. Now, many believe that the genesis of this problem lies in the anti-government protest that united Kenyan under the hashtag Ruto Must Go, which exposed the unpopularity of the current Kenyan president. The stone that the South African builder refused became the head cornerstone in West Africa. You see, all that woman wanted was to represent the country she was born and raised in by becoming Miss South Africa. However, she pulled out of the competition after successfully stirring up a heated debate about citizenship, belonging, and identity. But in the end, she became Miss Universe. Look, if I fall, let my fall be magnificent, grandiose, and transcendent like Shidima's fall, because in the end, c'est l'Afrique qui gagne, meaning it's Africa that wins. In Guinea-Bissau, authorities intercepted one of the country's largest seizure of white ladies in history, destined for the demanding European markets. 2 tons of cocaine freshly arrived from Venezuela were seized at the Bissau International Airport. You see, this successful operation sent a strong message that the West African country no longer want to be used like an Amazon transit depot to feed the global drug trafficking hunger. Listen, Guinea-Bissau aims to remove its name from the list of countries known as narco states. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger cut all diplomatic ties with Ukraine. You see, this decision was based on a declaration by Ukraine's military intelligence claiming they have assisted terrorists in North Mali ambush and kill Malian soldiers and their allies in their fight against terrorism and their attempt to reclaim their country. Rwanda's president Paul Kagame received a remarkable 99% vote in the elections, surpassing his previous 98% record from 7 years ago. Now, his closest rival, Frank Habineza and Philippe Mpayimana together did not even make 1% of the vote in an election with 98% turnout. Listen, we can say what we want about this president, but it seems like his people really know how to make a president feel special. As the eventful year was about to close, a man was erected on the coast of Africa and brought his country to its knees, putting it on a chokehold after 400 compromising videos of him with various women with different marital status were leaked and liked on social media. The man was using the country's public office for activities that even priests nowadays cannot abstain from. Baltazar Ebang Ngonga, the Equatorial Guinean man, united Africa better than the African Union and the world better than the United Nations since their creation. The name Baltazar trended more than the US election in 2024. Now, despite the scandal, he inspired new dances, songs, and likely increased tourism in his country. Now, whatever you do with this information is entirely up to you. In 2024, we found out that the Kingdom of Lesotho has a very high rate of people choosing to leave this world on their own term compared to the global average. Listen to these numbers. For every 100,000 people in the kingdom, 87.5 take this path every year, which is almost 10 times higher than the global average of 9 per 100,000. You see, this alarming statistic highlights a serious mental health crisis in the country that is driven by several societal factors such as unemployment and the lack of opportunities and more. These factors affect many countries on the continent and around the globe, but on different levels. But fortunately, the continent is slowly now recognizing and taking mental health seriously. So please, Ask for help if you need it. And that's a wrap for some of the top stories that shaped the African experience in 2024. Listen, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out other videos on the channel. Like, share, and subscribe for daily updates. Now, stay informed and stay inspired. But above all, Happy New Year 2025.
We, ni nini?